My first step is to find the turning point. To find the turning point, my quadratic must start positive x squared. As I've got 2x squared, my first step is to factorise at number 2 from my x squared and my single x term. Factorising at number 2, what do I times 2 to get back to 2x squared? Well, I'm missing x squared. What do I times 2 to get back to negative 8x? I'm missing negative 4x. And I leave the number term, in this case negative 5, on the end. Leaving the 2 on the outside. On the inside, as my quadratic now starts to form positive x squared, I'm now going to complete the square as normal. When completing the square, we always start with our square brackets and place a single x inside. To find our number term, we always half, i.e. divide by 2 the number in front of our single letter of x. In this case, negative 4 divided by 2 gives us negative 2. We then always subtract this number squared. Well, negative 2 squared means negative 2 multiplied by negative 2. And the negative times negative gives us a positive. So negative 2 times negative 2 gives us 4. So therefore, we're going to subtract 4. And we keep our original number, in this case, negative 5, on the end. Multiplying in the 2 is going to go in front of our square bracket. So it's going to be 2, and in brackets, x minus 2 squared. The 2 is going to multiply the negative 4 on the inside. Well, 2 times negative 4 gives you negative 8. And I've still got a negative 5 on the outside. Simplifying my number terms, I know negative 8 take away 5 will simplify to give us negative 13. Now that we've completed the square, to find the turning point, it's always the opposite to what's inside the bracket. In this case, the opposite of minus 2, therefore, is positive 2. Any number outside the square brackets has no impact on the turning point. And we always keep our number term, which represents the y-coordinate of our turning point. In this case, negative 13. We should know that a graph crosses the y-axis when x is 0. If I was to substitute x for 0, I'll always be left with the number term, which is our y-intercept. In this case, our y-intercept is negative 5, or as a coordinate would be 0, negative 5. If a graph crosses the y-axis when x is 0, then it crosses the x-axis when y is 0. We could return to our original quadratic, put it equal to 0 and solve for x. But as we've already completed the square, we know this quadratic can be written in this form. Hence, a quicker way is to put the completed the square form equal to 0 and solve for x. As I'm solving for x, my first step is to move the negative 13 to the right by doing the opposite. Opposite of minus 13 is to add 13 to both sides. On the left-hand side, I know negative 13 add 13 will cancel, and the right-hand side, 0 add 13 will give us positive 13. As I'm solving for x, the opposite of multiply by 2, therefore is divide both sides of our equation by 2. On the left-hand side, 2 over 2 will cancel, and that just leaves our square brackets, in this case, x minus 2 in brackets squared. And on the right-hand side, 13 divided by 2, that will give us 6.5. Again, as I'm solving for x, the opposite of squared is to square root both sides. On the left-hand side, I'm going to be left with what's inside the bracket, in this case, x minus 2. On the right-hand side, I'm going to have plus or minus the square root of 6.5. Remember, when you square it, you always get a plus or minus. You get 2 solutions. And again, as I want to get x the subject, now the opposite of minus 2, I'm going to add 2 to both sides. On the left-hand side, negative 2 add 2 will cancel, leave us just with x. And the right-hand side, now I've got positive 2 plus or minus the square root of 6.5. To sketch my quadratic, my first step is going to label my y-intercept at 0, negative 5. So 0, negative 5 on my y-axis, 0, negative 5 will be somewhere here. It's just a sketch. I'm going to label my turning point, which in this case is positive 2, negative 13. Well, positive 2 will be here on the right. Positive 2, negative 13 will be somewhere down here. And label that as 2, negative 13. I know it has 2 roots. It has 2 plus the square root of 6.5, or 2 plus the square root of 6.5 will be here on the right of my turning point. So 2 plus the square root of 6.5. And our other root will be 2 minus root 6.5, which will be here on the negative x-axis. So 2 minus root 6.5. Finally, as it was positive 2x squared, therefore I know it's going to be a parabola, i.e. a U shape.